broadcasting live from the Subaru of Gwinnett studio inside the Gas South Convention Center in Duluth, Georgia. It's time for Gwinnett Business Radio. Gwinnett Business Radio is available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or wherever you enjoy your favorite podcasts.
And hello again, everybody, and welcome to Gwinnett Business Radio alongside Harper LaBelle. Mike Salmon with you. Harper, how you doing today?
Doing great, Mike. We're going to have a show where we get to talk about one of my favorite things and yours as well.
That's
Sports
right.
and Hall of Fames.
Okay, I thought it was dominoes.
That's my second favorite.
Okay,
thing.
yeah. Sports today is going to be the key. It's the Gwinnett County Sports Hall of Fame. Aaron Lupuloff is here. He is the Senior Executive Director with the Gwinnett County Public School Foundation. And also, Buck Lanford, you may know him from Fox 5 Sports.
I've heard of him.
Yeah, he's kind of a known personality.
He told me once that I have a face for radio. Is he right?
No comment
Still,
there.
Okay, yeah.
Buck has been emceeing the Gwinnett County Sports Hall of Fame induction ceremonies for many, many years. But a little bit of a twist this year. He's actually getting inducted himself. Aaron, Buck, welcome to the program.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Aaron, tell us what's going on. A little twist this year. You kind of got Buck surprised, and for a guy that's on TV, he was speechless. What happened?
So first of all, this is our 14th annual Sports Hall of Fame. It's May 19th. Coming up in 10 days. It will be at Gas South, and we would love to have you join us. What was exciting about this year's inductees is we got to surprise Buck about being an inductee. Well, that's a mouthful of vowels. Bottom line is I went down to Fox 5, brought his favorite people, which would be his kids, and a significant other. And while we were doing an interview talking about the event where hopefully the crowd was enamored, a crowd of 3 people watching, at the end of the show, we got to surprise Buck to say, hey, Buck, you're going into the Hall of Fame. Why does Buck deserve to be going into the Hall of Fame? Well, not only was he a really good athlete at South Gwinnett back in the day, but more importantly, he's been our master of ceremonies for 12 of the 14 events and really does it for free, does it for the love of Gwinnett County, and does it for the love of making an event successful. This is the foundation's only fundraiser. So Buck is an integral part of the event.
So, Buck, you went to South Gwinnett High School.
Way back when, yes.
So you were expecting to be doing an interview with Aaron on Fox 5 for the upcoming Hall of Fame ceremony, and all of a sudden your family walks out.
Well, first of all, I don't trust this guy anymore, just so you know. And I'm talking about Aaron here. Yeah. No, seriously. Yeah, so, I do Good Day Atlanta now. I kind of transitioned to morning show from sports. Still keep my toe in the sports water when I can. So we're on the air from 4:30 to 11 every morning, Monday through Friday. So during the 9 o'clock hour, I generally just do little small parts of the show. But they asked me to do an interview, which was not completely out of line. I've done that before when it's maybe a sports-related interview. And they said, it's the Gwinnett Sports Hall of Fame. You MC it. Why don't you come ahead and sit in this show and do the interview? I'm like, that's easy. I don't have to prepare for that. I can talk about that all day long. So we come in to do the interview in the show, and Aaron comes in, and we talk about everything you could think of. We talk about the banquet, how long it's been going on. We talk about each of the inductees going into this year. As far as I knew, each of the inductees that were going into this year. We talked about the potential for a permanent site and a display for the Hall of Fame. We went on. And, one of the longest interviews I've probably ever done on live television with no rap in my ear from the producer, which is really, really rare. So at this point, I wrapped the interview myself. Because I'm like, okay, we've talked about everything we can talk about. And that's when Aaron said, hang on, there's one more thing.
Not so fast,
really?
my friend.
One more thing? We're going to go like another several minutes, it turns out. But and that's when Aaron, gave me the news, which was completely shocking. And that was enough right there. I was stunned and shocked. But when I looked up and saw 2 of my 3 kids walk into the studio, it was emotional. It was just a true human reaction. I didn't lose it, but I felt like I could have. I teared up a little bit and
You got a little closer.
got it back together. And then I realized that I'd been had by not just him and my kids, but most of my coworkers as well. So, wow, what a morning it was, though. Very exciting for me.
Well, Aaron, talk about the process itself, if you could, of the discussion that was amongst the board, I would imagine, who are we going to induct this year? And then who came up with the idea, said, while we're here, we might want to talk about adding Buck in for all the great things that he's done to help the organization itself, and for his countless sports-related. I'll say your resume certainly can speak for itself, to where you would say that's a no-brainer. We should do this.
So the first thing is we have a board that chooses our inductees, which has nothing to do with me, which is a perfect. So I can't get yelled at.
Yeah, your blood is clean, right?
My blood is super clean.
But the process itself, how does that go?
So the process itself is we have a group of candidates. We narrow down the candidates. We vote on the candidates. If the candidates who are chosen can be at the event, they're inducted. If they can't be at the event, we keep them as an inductee, but we don't induct them until they can show up.
So is there a white smoke, black smoke signal that you would have in relation to the papal election here? Not quite as severe as that, I would imagine.
Pretty close, actually.
Yeah.
And our board said, wait a second, we're missing somebody. And I goes like, okay, it's your call, not mine. And they said, how about Buck Lanford? And I said, how about voting on it? And truthfully, it was unanimous.
Was it really?
It really was. They were so excited. Buck has done so much for the Sports Hall of Fame, bottom line. And they were excited to say, he needs to be here. Yeah. So I was excited.
And he'll be there, right? If he's MC.
Oh, I didn't tell you I can't make it.
Yeah, sorry.
But actually has a job to do, so he has to show up, whether he gets inducted or not. He's our master of ceremonies.
Which he said on television that morning, this might be awkward, but you're going to induct yourself. So I'm not sure how that's going to play out just yet.
I was going to ask, how's that going to happen? Are you putting the jacket on yourself somehow? Or I guess maybe there's a surprise coming that we don't know about.
Well, that's true. You never know. So I don't know exactly how that's going to play out, but
we're working on it. We have some ideas.
We'll figure it out.
Well,
even Mariano Rivera didn't get unanimous decision into Cooperstown, but you did, right? So
I just found that out, which is humbling as well. So it's been a great thing for me to be a part of this. I remember when they first called me, I guess 12 years ago.
Exactly.
Came in and met with them and sat down, and when you do this for a living, you end up emceeing certain events. It's pretty common, but they were like, no. We're not just going to send you a script. We want you to come in and talk and meet us, and we want to talk through it. And I was like, well, that doesn't usually happen, right? Normally, people are just like, hey, look this over and come in and do it. So I came out here and met with them, and we did it that first year, and it went really well, and I really enjoyed working with them. And it really kind of plugged me back into where I grew up. I went to South Gwinnett High School, and I covered one of the cool things for me is I've covered almost every athlete that's gone in to this point. And so what I feel is kind of unique for me as the MC is I've got some personal stories of interactions with many, many of these people through the years, whether I covered like Brian McCann at spring training. I was there the day Brian and Jeff got drafted by the Braves in Jeff Francoeur's driveway and I was I knew Jeff. I didn't know Brian. And it was like, hey, Jeff, congratulations. And everybody's like, hey, there's this other guy here that got drafted by the Braves too. And I was like, who's that guy?
Yeah.
Well, now we know who that guy is, right?
Yep. And you kind of got mentioned it there with Brian McCann of the Atlanta Braves, of course. He's going to be inducted, and several other inductees as well. And Aaron, why don't you talk about who else is coming in with Buck?
I certainly will. First of all, which is unique to GCPS, a women's basketball player, Jennifer Gardner, played high school ball at Norcross, played college ball at Western Carolina, and she's in the Western Carolina Sports Hall of Fame. What's unique about Jennifer is she's a GCPS resource officer. She's actually a sergeant in our police force, and as great as an athlete as she is, she's a much better person. Kids for years rely on her when they walk in a building of a high school that they have somebody they can talk to. They have a friend. They have somebody, if there's a problem, they can reach out to. So we're thrilled to have Jennifer being inducted. Will Hinton went to Dacula High School. He's an Olympian. He's a skeet shooter, and having an Olympian in our Hall of Fame, hello, that's pretty cool. We've talked about Buck. Brian McCann, obviously World Series champion, Braves ball player. He's going to be introduced by Jeff Francoeur. So Duluth athlete, that's super exciting. We've been trying to induct Brian, quite frankly, but he has kids who play sports, and he's doing a lot of things. So finally, like I said, you got to show up to be inducted. He's showing up. We're excited to have him, and a lot of people will be cheering him on. Dexter Wood, Beaufort High School, 3-time state football champion, coach, athletic director. What else do you want to know? Helper of kids. You know, as great a coach as he is, if you talk to the Beaufort community, it's what has he done for his kids? He's gotten kids scholarships not only at UGA and Tech, but at small schools, at NAI schools, keeping kids in school, keeping them become productive members of society. Again, coaching is great, but he does much more. And finally, Bradley Roby from Peachtree Ridge, NFL Super Bowl champ, 10-year player in the NFL. If you think about our induction class this year, we have a World Series champ, and we have a Super Bowl champ, and we have an Olympian, and we have a sports announcer, and we have a resource officer. It's a great class, and hopefully it's not too late to come. It's May 19th.
Talk about diversity. You got it right there with these inductees. 14th Annual Gwinnett County Sports Hall of Fame, May 19th, right across the hallway from our studio here at the Gas South Convention Center. For people that want to come, how can they attend? They go, oh, wow, I watch Buck all the time on TV. I followed Brian McCann. I'm a huge fan. I know some of these folks. I want to come. What's my next step?
So it's easy. Go to the foundation website. It's www.gcps-foundation.org. And boom, staring you in the face, we'll sign up for a ticket or a table. We'd love to see you.
Now, Buck, this is going to be a little different this year with you come. How are you going to be able to focus on your job knowing this is kind of a special night for me with your family going to be there as well? So there'll be some emotions this year that typically you've never had in the past.
Right. I don't know. I can't answer that because I guess it's just going to have to happen. I didn't expect the, what I felt that morning on television that day. At least I know this is happening. It's not a surprise at the event that night. I'll probably just, in my own way, downplay me to an extent and try to get to everybody else as quickly as possible. I think we said that I'll go first, right? Is that
Absolutely.
yeah? So go ahead and get that out of the way, right? Okay, we got a little business to take care of. Okay, all right. Now to the rest of the class. But I don't know. It'll be certainly a range of emotions and certainly something I didn't expect.
Okay, and obviously we're very proud of you being one of Gwinnett County's very own. And let's talk about your experience because we joked a little bit. We didn't joke. We said you were a pretty good athlete back when you played, but you kind of went, I'm not so sure about that. Talk about your, what you did when you were at South Gwinnett, and then talk about your career since then because you're being inducted for what you've done since you left South Gwinnett.
Right, and so I transferred into South Gwinnett. I lived in Snellville, but I went to a small private school, transferred into South Gwinnett in my junior year. So I went there 11th and 12th grade. They had a really good basketball program at the time, and when I told people I was going to try to play basketball there, people were like, good luck. So I ended up playing basketball for a couple of years on some really good teams. Our senior year, I think we went 24-4, went to the state tournament, got knocked out in the first round, unfortunately. But I made friends that in fact, I got together with these guys 2 weekends ago in a golf trip down at St. Simons, several guys from my basketball team. It's friends for life that, because when you play sports, you share that bond with those people. So my only real claim to fame, and I'm not sure my son believes this, but you're looking at the 1986 South Gwinnett High School Slam Dunk Champion, okay? Yeah, believe it or not.
Really?
I know. I used to be able to jump. Now I can barely touch the net, I think. But anyway, so I went to Georgia State after that. I knew once I realized I'm probably not going to play professional basketball. That came pretty quickly. And then I decided, I want to do something. I love sports. I love being involved in sports. I love the relationships. I love just the games, the competition. How can I stay close to the game if I'm not good enough to play it at a certain level? And so I studied journalism, and I wanted to get into sports. And, man, it took me a long time to get a job in sports. There were jobs in news, but the sports jobs were harder to come by. And it took years till I finally landed. I worked at Georgia Public Television on a part-time basis, kind of a freelance job, covering high school sports. And then I finally got my opportunity down at WTOC in Savannah. I was the weekend sports anchor down there. And when I was in school, I interned at Fox 5. Kept those relationships, was able to parlay those relationships into a 3-month contract in 1998. I worked, my first day on the job was Thanksgiving Day, 1998. Working a holiday, that's what you do in this
Nobody
business,
wants to
right?
work on
Yeah,
Thanksgiving
so
Day except
put
you.
the new guy in there, Thanksgiving Day. Well, what happened in 1998 during my 3 months contract, they said it's over after 3 months. You will go, you'll have major market experience, go get a job somewhere else, you'll have good stuff on your resume. Well, the unthinkable happened. The Falcons went to the Super Bowl in 1998. And I went from covering Vidalia and Toombs County High School to standing underneath the goalpost when Morton Anderson kicked at the Metrodome, when Morton Anderson kicked the Falcons into the first Super Bowl in the history of the franchise. Then off to Denver to get ready for the Super Bowl with the Broncos, then to Miami for the Super Bowl. I'm like, who am I? How did this happen, right? So that 3-month contract will be 27 years this Thanksgiving. Assuming I'm still there at Thanksgiving. So it's just I pinch myself for what I get to do for a living. I get to meet incredible people. I get put in places I would have never otherwise been. And this is a good example of a place where I'm going to be put in the Gwinnett County Sports Hall of Fame. It's I pinch myself daily.
Well, obviously with the high school connection from the Hall of Fame standpoint, what did you do in high school? But how did that transition into whatever you're able to do later on in your life? You being with Georgia State for a while, and then the first job going to the Super Bowl, for example. Tech. I'm going to do the Oklahoma and Nebraska game, right? That Thanksgiving or the day after. Next thing you know, it's led to, and the thoroughness is where my question is, because when you interviewed to be the MC of this, the thoroughness of just they're taking this more seriously than maybe some other institutions might. I imagine that was very impressive to you, and now here we are a dozen years or so later, and you're now being a part of the class that takes the athlete, and there's so many in Gwinnett County, and it's such a diverse group of people, volleyball, basketball, football, of course, baseball, but other sports, even shooting, all of that being a part of your contribution to it. It has to make it even more fulfilling in some respects.
You're absolutely right about the thoroughness of it too. That was impressive out of the gate. So I've done when you do this 27 years in the city, you MC a lot of events. Some, you might be at something very small, but you might be at a big event
an awards
as well.
dinner of any kind.
A small award. I've done things that are very small crowds. I've done things with huge crowds and everything in between. But after a while, you know what? I get to where I'm only going to do a handful of events a year, because you could do an event every weekend if you wanted to give all of your time. But
it's tough, but you have to learn to say no sometimes.
You have to learn to say no, but it also is a good thing to do to get you out in the community. So it's kind of a double-edged sword, because you're literally people that see you on TV, you shake hands with them, you meet them, they get to know you. So it's an important part of your job. But I've been doing this a long time, and so I'd kind of narrowed it down to only 2 events that I do every year, and this being one. And it's just an important event to me, and I was proud to be a part of it as an MC, and just to come back every year and do that and get to induct people that I've covered, induct people that I've gotten to know. People from South Gwinnett High School. David Green's in, Coach Sawyer's in, Mickey Kahn is in.
Little basketball player.
Yeah, Lou Williams.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. I got a joke about that in my basketball career. We'll save that for induction night, right? But no, it's just
Lou didn't win the slam dunk contest.
He may have. I don't know, but he didn't go against me. Yeah, I mean, right. he had some hops too.
You think?
Yeah.
Maybe.
Well, in the last few minutes that we have here, I'm going to ask you both the same question. I'll start with you, Aaron. Why should people attend the 14th Annual Gwinnett County Sports Hall of Fame ceremony on May 19th? In addition to having a great meal and great food, why should people attend?
So besides having a great time, which is probably the number one reason to attend, this is the foundation's only fundraiser. It's that simple. Is whether we're supporting food insecurity. We have 185,000 kids. Of our 185,000 kids, almost 120,000 of them eat breakfast and lunch on the school district every single day. So we support those kids throughout the year, because they need to eat more than breakfast and lunch 180 days a year. We provide free vision. We provide mental health. We're helping our most disadvantaged kids. It's that simple. We're providing scholarships for kids to go to technical schools and go to colleges where they're the first person in their family to get an education after high school. We're providing teacher grants for innovative teachers that have ideas, whether it's AI or whether it's to build a garden. So this is our event. We need your help. I want to add one thing. This year is pretty unique in that due to the generosity of Mercedes-Benz Stadium, they have donated a 16-person suite to the Beyonce concert on July 14th.
Wow.
Again, that's one of those MasterCard moments that you just can't buy.
Right.
So that's going to be a live auction item. And if you can't come to the event, we're going to be live streaming it as well. So stay tuned. So there you go.
Buck, why should people be attending?
Those are some pretty good reasons.
Yeah.
That'll be tough to top. But one that we haven't mentioned is the keynote speaker that night, which will be a guy who's kind of got a program going in the right direction at Georgia Tech, Brent Key. And so I think a lot of people will like to hear from him. I mean, anybody that went to watch that game against Georgia last fall, Tech's back, and then I think this is looking like it could become a rivalry again, which I think is pretty exciting for the state.
Is he going to talk about NIL and the portal? Is that all he's going to talk about, or is he?
Well, I don't know. Will it be a Q&A, or will he be a speaking?
So Brent is going to give in between a 20 and 30-minute talk himself. I'm sure it's a variety of different subjects.
I was teasing with that because that's what no coach wants to talk about anymore. They just want to talk about my players and how we're going to do. And obviously, you've noticed, Buck, and you just mentioned, the way he's turned the program around as quickly as he has. The excitement for Jacket fans it's genuine and real.
Yeah, and I think it is. They have a reason to be excited again. As an MC, this is not necessarily a reason to come to see me MC, but I do have a certain skill as an MC, and that is, and this is a very important skill as an MC, you want to give everyone the proper recognition that they deserve, but I also stay on schedule. I stay on time. This thing is not going to run until 11 o'clock at night. I promise you that. I do what I have to do to stay on schedule throughout the night. Now, most years I have an ulterior motive. My alarm clock goes off at 3:15 in the morning,
it does.
And this is a weeknight. But this year I took the day off after. But I still promise that we will not keep people there all night long. You're gonna meet some really cool people. You're gonna see some really cool moments, and we'll get you home in time.
Do you have any bad jokes at your?
I got plenty of bad jokes.
Do you really?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Mike, you always come with a bad joke.
That's worth the
don't
price
you?
of admission right there.
Yeah.
I can promise several bad jokes. I can promise that.
Aaron, what would it cost for someone to want to come?
So tickets are $250 a piece. The table's $2,500. But I do want to dovetail on what Buck said. We are so excited to hear from Coach Key. 3 of my 4 kids are Georgia Tech grads, so they will be in attendance. Tech is moving up, and Coach Key is prepared. He has already sent a bunch of questions, to-dos, not to-dos, et cetera, et cetera. So it's going to be a fun night, and it's going to be worth listening to.
Yeah.
Price of admission is worth it.
Well, absolutely. Well, I mean, we spent the first 20 minutes of this program talking about all the inductees and the excitement, and then before we got to Buck bringing it up, I was like, oh my God, we haven't even mentioned Brent Key yet is going to be your speaker, and everything you have said, Buck, is correct. I mean, we got a rivalry again between, I'm a Georgia guy, one of our cohorts here, Steven, is a Georgia Tech guy. We finally have that rivalry again because it was so one-sided for so long. I'm actually a Brent Key, even though I'm a Georgia guy, I'm a Brent Key fan.
It's hard not to be, no matter who you pull for. I was at that game at Sanford Stadium. What a night! I mean, it hurt for Tech fans to lose, but there's no moral victories, but there's certainly a sense of pride in knowing that, hey, this thing's going in the right direction.
One last time, Aaron, the website to get tickets so we can see you on May 19th.
It's www.gcps-foundation.org.
Well, I mentioned this before we went on the air. I'm going to do it again. And Aaron, especially for you and the organization itself, for all that you've done for the athletes and the history of Gwinnett County sports, for all that you're going to do for the athletes in the history of Gwinnett County sports. Thank you. What a great honor to be a part of that. And Buck, you are now in Shrinee, which is pretty cool when you think about it.
I just got chills when you said that.
And all the people that you've got to cover.
When you do your autograph, you can now got to do HOF.
Yeah, no kidding. And you do. And South is going to have to catch up. But for all that you've been a part of over your vast experiences and the days that you've covered some of these kids, and last year Cameron Hayward, getting to be in a state championship game and watching him play and then inducting him 15, 20 years later. I know, Aaron, you had said earlier on the show that you were on with Buck, we want to have guys that are actually retired. Cameron kind of broke that mold with you, and there's a few others, obviously. But, the way that you, and Gwinnett County has so many great athletes that you've obviously covered, Buck, over the years, and now to get to honor them in a way that's really special, a very unique experience for all.
Yeah, and it's so interesting. I know we're almost out of time, but so when I was coming up in the mid to late '80s in Gwinnett County, one guy at a school signing a D1 scholarship was a huge deal. Now every school. It's
Were
incredible.
you a 3A school back when you were playing?
We were quad A. We were quad A.
Right.
Yeah, 4A, which was the biggest back then.
Absolutely.
And we had. I don't think we had anybody in my senior year but we had a guy in my junior year that went to South Carolina. I thought that was the biggest thing that had ever happened. We had one guy sign a scholarship to play football at the University of South Carolina who they weren't even in the SEC yet. Now, you look at the level of athleticism in this county. I don't know the numbers. Someone looked them up about maybe there's more. I think it was Rich McKay.
Rich McKay,
who looked up the numbers of Gwinnett athletes in the NFL, maybe the most of all any other county in the entire country,
including IMG.
Yeah,
There's over 100 NFL players from Gwinnett County right now.
It's
right?
stunning,
Yeah,
really.
that number is in probably
It's
400 or
crazy.
500 that are playing in major college programs.
And what
Presently-
contributed to this? I mean, obviously a population growth, but the level of and you pick the sport. It doesn't matter. We're talking football right now, but you take basketball, you take baseball,
Swimming,
maybe
doesn't matter.
Yeah, swimming. It
Olympic
really
athletes,
does not
right.
matter.
Olympic gold medalist
Yeah, it's amazing.
in our
So-
Sports Hall of Fame.
And again, thank
Amanda
you,
Weir.
Aaron, for your contribution to that. I know there's a board, there's others, but on behalf of all the fans of the inductees and the sports world, thank you for the great job that you guys do.
Thank you for letting us be here.
Yeah, thank you, Aaron, and congratulations, Buck.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you guys having me in today.
Buck Lanford with Fox 5 and Aaron Lupuloff with the Gwinnett County School System Foundation. Thank you both so much for joining us. And Harper, we look forward to this great event on May 19th here at the Gas South Convention
Yeah,
Center.
maybe someday you'll get inducted into the Hall of Fame. We're
Yeah.
looking forward to it.
Yeah,
Mike.
I'm sure that'll be happening after you.
Well,
Hey,
for your hockey and your baseball experience and tennis, and I think you're a
Yeah.
pickleball now too. We're gonna find a category.
you
for
were the guy that snapped to Morton Anderson for all those years with the Falcons.
Not with the Super Bowl. I wasn't.
Yeah, you were the-
I wasn't looking at Buck underneath the goalpost.
You were there the wrong years.
Yeah, that's for sure.
So thank you to Dan as well for producing the show. And for Harper, I'm Mike Salmon. We'll see you next time here on Gwinnett Business Radio.